Namaste and welcome everyone back to the Inward Way series of podcasts. We're on our third book, the Inside Silence book, episode 5, our last episode at this moment. Remember, our purpose is not to agree with me and what I have to say about a number of posts garnered from various sources on spiritual matters, but rather to understand that it's not that I'm encouraging you to think outside of the box. I'm encouraging you to understand that there is no box at all. We don't need to put limitations on what we understand about life. Don't let other teachings put fences around how you deal with it. So here we go into first post for today. I believe the greatest gift I can conceive of having from anyone is to be seen by them, heard by them, and to be understood and touched by them. The greatest gift I can give is to see, to hear, to understand, and to touch another person. When this is done, I feel contact has been made. I would add only one word and say that authentic contact has been made. This is a stunning passage from Virginia Satter's wisdom, Making Contact, and it displays deep meaning to me. For years I've heard time and time again and read about the essential desire to be loved by another. We all seek it. Oh, we want it so badly to be loved by another. Years ago, I read a research study of how touching babies seemingly made a huge difference in their development. When I read that conclusion, that being loved makes a tremendous difference in our development, I recall declaring this. But that's only half the story. The other half is that when we're able to love, to touch, to see, to be there for another, we develop more completely. So it's not only about being touched by others, but being able to reach others, to be known by others. In short, there's an essential need for both directions of connecting, to be touched and to be able to touch another. Not only to be loved authentically by others, but also to have others who will allow us to love them authentically. Over the years, I've learned to simply be there for others, not to fix them or to try to change them, only to listen to them. The proof of the pudding is when the other declares at the end of a chat or an episode of some kind of drama, self-inflicted or otherwise, "Hey, thanks for listening to me and not trying to fix me. I feel much better now that this is off my chest." What a treasure and a declared truth of the matter. Although a particular TV ad is about some chemical cure for a skin disease, I love the way they've done it. They flash photos of all kinds of people each saying, "See me, see me, see me." It's quite impactful. Perhaps it's impactful to me because, not unlike you, perhaps, I have some people in my life who don't really see me, or want me to be what they want me to be, rather than what I am. On a somewhat more profound level, years ago, a lady friend and I mutually agreed to stop seeing one another. The reasons weren't all that important. Even that we stopped wasn't so important, or seemed not to be. A week or so after we parted company, I was in the midst of writing another book, and I suddenly felt a barrage of angry energy coming at me through the window in my study. It stunned me at first, never having felt such anger in this fashion, blazing through my office window. I sat with it for a bit and suddenly realized what was happening. At that point, I decided to wrap up that continuing stream of anger. I wrapped it up in love and decided to return it. It didn't lessen any at all. It just came pouring through. After further consideration, I decided to call a counselor friend of mine who was highly insightful. I told her what had happened, and she asked me, "Well, Jim, what did you do with this angry energy?" I said to her, I wrapped it up in love and returned it to her, sent it back to her. And this is what she responded with: "That won't work, Jim. This person has no idea what real love is. Instead, continue wrapping the anger with love and send it out into the universe. The universe will know what to do with it." Wow. I share this story not to demean the other in any way, only to suggest that there are limitless means of awareness, limitless levels of awareness. And I sure wasn't aware of that particular way at the time. Loving connection is highly important, yet if one is not familiar with it on any authentic level, it can be neither given nor received. To me, there's little, if anything, that's more demoralizing as not being allowed to connect. Again, that's not to be judgmental towards one who can't allow for authentic connection for whatever reason, only to acknowledge that some can and some can't. One of the major misunderstandings of this is to not take any of it personally. It's not a judgment against us if they don't or can't make themselves available. It only means that because of their own personal history, they either can't or won't. All that's left to do is to wish them well on their own journey and to commit to always being open to yourself when and if the time comes. There's another aspect of this that I've thought about since I wrote this particular chapter, if you will, and that is one of the reasons that we grieve so heavily when a loved one dies is partially because they're not present there physically with us. And in many cases, it's about being a little bit greedy, wanting them to still be there to love us. But unwittingly, many times, it's really the fact that they're not there for us to love them, to give our outpouring of love to them, to be authentically loving toward them. But you know what? Just because somebody has passed on to another part of their spiritual journey doesn't mean we can't still love them. We just have to love them in a different form. Let that one sit with you a little bit. Okay, here's the next post. These pains you feel are messengers. Listen to them. That's a quote from one of Rumi's poems, one of my favorite poets of all time. We humans feel all kinds of pain, physical, psychological, emotional, even through our ego consciousness. On a large scale, perhaps even always, pain on any level speaks to us, not only as the pain we're feeling, but also as a beckoning to ask what the voice of pain wants us to know about ourselves. For example, if we have stomach pain, it may just be that you're having indigestion, but you might want to also ask inwardly, what is it that I can't stomach? That's an important question. What is it I can't stomach? Then simply wait for the voice inside silence to respond. It will, so just stay aware. Such queries help hone your awareness of the inner voice rather than relying, for example, on someone else's advice. Stored inward is all we'll ever need to know about our pain. Another example, a sore back. One might ask, in the midst of back pain, what is it I've stored back there that I won't let go of, that's releasing me from the heavy burden I'm carrying? Why am I carrying all that pain back there? If it's a pain in your bottom side, you can say, how many times have I said, boy, she or he sure is a pain in the butt? Piercing headaches. What is it I stress over to such a high degree that I won't let go of? Pain in the hips. When is the last time I exhibited the freedom that comes with joy, as in hip, hip, hooray? Pain in the hips. Pain in the knee or legs. What is it that I'm allowing me to hold me back? that I'm allowing to hold me back, like I'm holding onto a rope, deeply resisting forward motion. You know, when we're sort of screeching to a halt, when we run or we slide on the grass or in the second base, we're building up a resistance toward forward motion. The list, of course, is endless, but for whatever pain you may feel. It may be true that there's some kind of injury or disease causing the pain, but that doesn't mean that that is all there is to the pain. By asking inwardly, you may be surprised to learn something new about yourself. Acknowledge that new information. Honor it. Then set it free. Don't carry it. Your pain will quickly disappear along with that information. Here is with our other chats with each other. Listen deeply inward. Listening deeply inward is the main instruction, the mode of life to be loyally joined. It's all practice for your good, mostly in the end, to let you know your real identity, your true essence of being, and what you might heal within yourself. So listen already. The next post. People keep searching for others to light their world, but the truth of the matter is that illumination is an inside job, and the mind is the switch to turn it on. Watch carefully around you. Pay attention to people who seek comfort from others and who think they're incomplete without others to fulfill them. Then to be honest enough with yourself to see if you're doing the same thing or not. On a rather superficial level, we think we seek others to light us up, to fulfill us, when fulfillment, enlightenment, and completeness are all an inside job. We've been taught to think that we're incomplete, that we need lighting up, or that we're never really good enough. So our reality becomes precisely that, incomplete, dark, and not even good enough. As we are as complete, as lit up, enlightened, fulfilled as we're ever going to be, as long as we remember that we really are, instead of clinging to what we let others influence us to think we are. A sure sign we're living superficially, from others' views of us taken to be our own, is if we're constantly seeking what we think we're not or want outside of us. Contrary to popular belief, the world is not about materiality or physicality. This world is about coming to the realization of what we really are and living true to that identity. This keeps life very simple and true to our being. It seems to me that Shakespeare was absolutely correct when he asked, to be or not to be? That is the question. Go inward. Ask what it is you be. I know that's not good grammar. So what? Go in and ask what it is you be. And then give yourself totally to that. And only that. Follow only that. Make Shakespeare proud. And yourself along with it. The next post is one assigned to the Dalai Lama. When you talk, you're only repeating what you already know. But if you listen, you may learn something new. And I would add, if you listen both outwardly but especially inwardly, you may learn something new. The Dalai Lama is filled with such wisdom and shares it freely, which is his way, his purpose. In a very real way, his wisdom parallels that of Rumi, the Persian poet of long ago. When he says that talking is only about repeating all you know, that's because that's where many of us are stuck. From the point of birth, even while in the womb in some ways, we've listened to others speak and guide us as though we were and are the spiritual masters. As though they were and are the spiritual masters, I should say. What they really are doing is merely passing on what they heard from others and took to be their own. Thus, they are merely repeating the vicious cycle of sharing what amounts to ignorance, sharing what hardly anyone checks out for authenticity. Sit with this idea for just a moment. When was the last time you verified what someone told you was true or should be what you do? My bet is that it's a rare occurrence. In these days, with so much false political information being spread about, with so many lies being told, it's even more paramount, imperative even, that we double-check for the authenticity of what we're hearing and reading. Otherwise, we're shortchanging ourselves and all those who share such information with. We're shorting ourselves because unless the information is true and the best for us, we'll continue to diminish our worth, our self-respect, and dignity. The same is true if we send such unverified information and suggestions on to others. Surely we can render compassion and uplifting inspiration greater than that. By now, if you've resonated at all with the inward way approach and are practicing at every opportunity, you'll be hearing accurate and authentically real information to use in guiding your life. Is this information to be passed on indiscriminately to others? Not necessarily. Information that stems from our intuitional source is for your awareness, your demonstration. What's yours to pass along is the admonition to go inward for one's essential truth and to live only by that. Such practice keeps things pretty simple and really true. So remember this, inward is the way. Follow only that voice. Let the rest go. You'll be much freer that way, perhaps even later. The next post, I didn't disappear. I traded nights out for knowledge seeking. I traded parties for intimate gatherings. I traded chasing money for chasing purpose. I traded meaningless work for my passion. I traded being busy for protecting time. I traded soul extortion for soul searching. And I traded living for others for living my life. As we commit to our spiritual discernment, we find that our lives have changed rather dramatically. To keep it simple, we go from seeking life fulfillment outside us, constantly seeking for that one magic purpose or moment or thing that will change our life completely. Oh my. Only thing is, no one but us is in charge of our life. It's only we who can change our life, for better or for worse. This post lists several ways we can and do shift our lives when we commit to the inward voice. Partying with scores of others doesn't work for us any longer. Our inner voice beckons us to listen for the truth of our being inwardly. Still stuck in ego consciousness, we explain what we shifted to is seeking knowledge. Only thing is, seeking anything is to deny the immensity of our own spiritual consciousness, our sacred being in its totality. Life is not about seeking, but becoming more aware of our inner voice, which conveys our authenticity. We move from parties to intimate gatherings. At this point, we learn that parties are mostly about drinking and superficial conversation, ego fulfillment. Intimate gatherings come about as we develop our inner intimacy with a voice, first of all, that speaks in silence. That's real intimacy. As we become more aware of and express the offerings of that voice, our life becomes intimate on all levels of being. Intimacy isn't defined as being able to have a deep conversation, even sexual fulfillment, with another being. True intimacy starts with and deals with abiding our inner voice, living true to that, and only that. Aha! Then there's that chasing money game instead of living our authentic purpose. Ego consciousness entraps us in endless schemes involving material gain, collections of goods, houses, even relationships. Ego consciousness spearheads a constant journey to outer completion. When all such machinations really accomplish is a hollow existence, bereft of inner callings of soul. Soul, where all life is already complete, wherein our purpose lies, fulfilling only its callings. When we follow what others tell us our career should be, once again, we follow only what they want of us, for us, to see us demonstrating their values in work life. However, should we look inward for reflections of our own enthusiasm for life's ways, for the expression of our passion for various aspects of life, it is then, and only then, that we live authentically. It is passion and enthusiasm for the voice's offerings that let us know in no uncertain terms that we are on the right track. Surely we can finish the list posted above, but simply by sitting with what's spoken in print, asking what special meaning each comment has for you. Ask, listen, demonstrate faithfully. Keep life pretty simple. Yes? Yes, you betcha. This next post is one posted from Eckhart Tolle. Every ego wants to be special, if it can't be special by being superior to others. Let me read that again. Every ego wants to be special, if it can't be special by being superior to others. It's also quite happy by being especially miserable. That's a funny one. Indeed, ego is largely about being special. Listen carefully. It's not about you being special, but about it, ego, needing to be special. All you need to do is look around you for people who are with a strong and large sense of ego. They're bigger than life. They fill a room, focused mostly on self, commanding attention above all else. Then, with abject honesty, look at your own ego. How and when does it seek to be special? Seeking to be special is an ego purpose and has specialness as its only desired manifestation. One way of being special is to compete with others so you can achieve a higher rung on the ladder of success somehow. Even in relations with others, such ego-centered people push others down to lower rungs of the ladder, out of not only unfair competition, but through bullying, demeaning, name-calling, and lying about the character. All just so they can be seen in the eyes of the ego as being superior to others. Interestingly, depending on the particular ego, specialness can also be achieved by seeing their lives as essentially inadequate, bereft of any goodness at all, as but a victim of the world order. Building such a negative frame of mind, she or he will repeat such negativity through all their thinking, deeds, actions, and relations. That's how insidiously the negative aspects of specialness and desired superiority can play out, and how such an individual becomes happy with misery simply because he or she feels special and thus superior, thus forcing such definitions onto others just to maintain their desire for specialness. Again, it all boils down to which form of life we give our energy, our commitment. Living out of ego consciousness found outward, or living out of authenticity, abiding the inner voice heard, only in silence. Once we land solidly on the spiritual path, we come to discern that there is only one legitimate path for us, the inward way. The rest falls by the wayside, never to be lived again. This next post is from Alan Watts. This is a real secret of life, to be completely engaged with what you are doing in the here and now. And instead of calling it work, realize it is play. There are many forms of meditation, and you may well be practicing one or more that suits you just fine. Good for you if you do. If you don't meditate, or at least don't think you meditate, I would suggest trying what's suggested in this particular post. For a long time, I've thought that focusing on what you're doing in the here and now is a really good meditative practice. It gets your mind off of needs and desires and focuses only on pouring your entire being into some creative act. Doing so is what, or I would say being so, is what defines creativity. Making something out of nothing without the manipulative machinations of the mind getting in the way. Permit me to simplify, or at least try to simplify. I can write a book by researching endlessly and quoting many people, organizations, organizing it to the hilt, or I can write a book like this, simply exercising yet again the creative instincts that flow from the unimpeded offerings that emanate from fully engaging some particular activity. And it's no less compelling and rewarding to use the same kind of engagement with relationships. When we give our full attention and focus to conversation, even with a stranger, when finished, we come away with a newfound friend, simply because we paid full attention to that engagement and not one iota of attention to some manufactured response to what the other is saying. Relationships, like any meaningful activity, change from work to play-like, primarily because we've gotten out of our own way, out of manage the experiencing for our own ego benefit, rather than embodying the sheer enjoyment of authentic connection. In such rewarding cases, we gain much without trying to gain much. We give much whether or not this was our original intention. That's just the way it works, folks. Work turns out to play when we simply be with anything or anyone, for it's gotten some predetermined goal or reward out of the way. Thus, what awaits our awareness can flow freely and easily. For some guidance, simply watch a couple 2-year-olds playing. They just give themselves completely to playfulness and enjoy both themselves and the other in return. Being childlike, honoring your inner child, so to speak, is an extraordinary commitment to fulfillment. For many, such direction is far from known and rarely practiced. But now that you know, you can practice it. And soon your life will change from one of drudgery to one of freedom and joyful fulfillment. What comes next for you? The things that make one go, I think we can do one more here. Let's see, I think we can. This is from a series of quotes called Moonlit Mystics. I love you neither with my heart nor my mind. My heart might stop. My mind can forget. I love you with my soul because my soul never stops or forgets. Actually, it's a Rumi quote. Which way do you love? With heart, with mind, or with soul? Life experience has taught me that many say they love one another, yet I've often wondered if it were being in love with the idea of love or thinking love is a matter of heart energy being exchanged. Of course, there are many games we play with the idea of love, but many of those relate to acting out of infatuation, even manipulation for personal gain, like sex favors, having others wait on you hand and foot, providing one with financial security. Not that these, in and of themselves, are necessarily bad things. They're just not real love. Loving with soul is not related to what is commonly called soulmates these days. For the most part, soulmates place themselves in such a category in the bloom of first relational glow, even before they really connect energetically. It's become a nice thing to say about another that we're soulmates, and it traps them in that moniker without further exploration into authenticity. Perhaps an easy way to deal with this is to return to the idea that we're not our body. We're nothing but an eternal, infinite soul housed in a body. Once we set outside the outer shell and reside deep within our inner awareness, what we are, authentic love, it is freed to be itself. Rumi is correct. Our mind can forget. Our heart may stop, but love is what we are and ever shall be. And all that left for us to do is remember what we are and demonstrate life from that center of being. And let me close with two things. One is to answer the question that we asked in the beginning of these 5 episodes. What could possibly be inside silence? And the answer then, as it is now, is the only real answer, spiritually speaking, is that what is inside silence is the only authentic version of you, waiting only to be remembered and fully lived. As with the other sessions we've done, the other episodes and the other books, I have found a little something special to close with. It's something entitled Love After Love by Derek Walcott. The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door, in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome and say, "Sit here, eat." You will love again the stranger who was yourself. Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life, whom you ignored for another, who knows you by heart. Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photographs, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror. Sit, feast on your own life. And so between now and the next time we get together for episode 1 of the next book, I hope you have a wonderful life. I hope you stay well and happy. And yes, feast on your own life, moment by moment. Namaste. I love you.